In 1963, a man in a quiet Turkish town picked up a sledgehammer. He only meant to knock down a wall inside his own home. But behind that wall was not more stone. It was a dark, cold passage leading down into the earth. He had broken into something sealed for centuries. A tunnel, then a room, then steps going deeper still. Level after level, carved by hand into solid rock. Stables, kitchens, churches, wells, an entire city, underground. It dropped nearly 300 feet beneath his house. It was large enough to hide 20,000 people, and it had been built to make them all vanish. Giant round stone doors could seal it from the inside, sealed against something the people above were terrified of. For centuries, no one above ground knew it was there, until one wall and one sledgehammer woke it up. This is the story of the city beneath the city. To understand what lies beneath Turkey, begin in the year 1963. In the region of Cappadocia stands a small, ordinary town. Its name is Derinkuyu. In Turkish, it means deep well. No one then knew how fitting that name truly was. In one modest stone house, a man was renovating his home. He was knocking through an old wall to make more room. For years, his family had noticed something strange. Animals would sometimes vanish into cracks in the walls and never return. And a cold draft seemed to breathe from somewhere deep in the house. As he swung his hammer, the wall finally gave way. But behind it was not the inside of another room. It was darkness, a black gap, and cold air pouring out. He had broken into a hidden passage cut into the rock. Cautiously, he widened the hole and looked inside. A narrow tunnel stretched away into total blackness. He lit a lamp and stepped into it. The passage opened into a carved room, and then another. Steps led downward, deeper into the earth. Everywhere he turned, more tunnels branched away. This was no cellar. It was something far larger. Word spread, and soon experts came to see for themselves. What they found left them stunned. The man had broken into the top of an underground city. A city carved by hand, hidden completely beneath the town. It descended level after level into the rock, and it had been sealed and forgotten for centuries. No one knew who had built it, or why. The deeper they went, the stranger the questions became. As explorers descended, the true scale began to reveal itself. This was not one hidden room, but an entire world. Derinkuyu plunged nearly 85 meters into the earth. That is almost 300 feet, straight down. It held at least 8 separate levels, stacked one beneath the other. And some believe more levels still lie undiscovered below. Each floor was connected by steep, narrow passages. The tunnels were low and tight, forcing visitors to stoop. But they opened into chamber after carved chamber. On the upper levels were stables cut for livestock. The marks of tethering ropes were still worn into the stone. There were kitchens, their ceilings blackened by ancient smoke. There were presses for making wine and oil. There were cellars and vast storage rooms for food. The people who hid here could feed themselves for months. Deeper down were living quarters, room after room. There was even a space believed to be a school. Carved alcoves and benches still line its walls, and cut into the rock were churches with vaulted ceilings. On one of the lowest levels sat a great cross-shaped church. Here, people could worship far beneath the surface of the earth. There were wells for water and shafts that vanished upward into the dark. There were even tunnels that connected to other cities miles away. Everything a community needed had been carved underground. This was a city in every sense, only buried. Standing in its silent halls, one question grew louder. How could human hands have carved all of this from solid rock? And why would anyone choose to live beneath the ground? The answers lay deeper still, in the engineering of the place, and in the terror that drove people to build it. Derinkuyu was carved into a special kind of stone. The rock of Cappadocia is soft volcanic ash called tuff. When freshly cut, it is soft enough to shape with simple tools. But once exposed to air, it hardens into solid rock. This is what made an underground city possible. Generation after generation, the people dug deeper. With picks and hand tools, they hollowed out the earth. They removed countless tons of stone, basket by basket. Yet the greatest challenge was not digging, it was air. 20,000 people cannot breathe in a sealed pit. So the builders cut more than 50 ventilation shafts. These narrow channels ran from the surface deep into the city. They carried fresh air down to every single level. Even on the lowest floors, the air still moves today. The deepest shaft plunged some 55 meters down, and it served a second vital purpose. It reached water far below, acting as a great well. This was the deep well that gave the town its name. It meant the city could provide its own water. Hidden families could drink without ever going outside. The whole design was breathtakingly clever. Light came only from oil lamps and small flames, yet the air stayed fresh and the water stayed clean. People could live down here, sealed away for weeks at a time. Stables, kitchens, wells and churches, all underground. A self-contained world that could survive on its own. It was one of the greatest feats of ancient engineering. But engineering this extreme is never built without reason. Such a place is only carved out of desperation. And the doors they built next reveal exactly what they feared. Throughout the city, the builders left a chilling clue. At key points in the tunnels stood enormous round stones. They were shaped like great millstones carved from solid rock. Each one could weigh up to 500 kilograms. They sat in carved channels beside the passageways, and they could be rolled across the tunnels to block them. Once in place, a stone door sealed the passage completely. But here was the genius of the design. Each door could only be moved from the inside. A small hole in its center let defenders push it shut. From the outside, the great stone could not be budged. Anyone trapped on the wrong side was locked out. And there was not just one door, but many. Each level could be sealed off separately from the rest. If invaders broke through one barrier, another waited beyond. The tunnels themselves were a weapon. They were deliberately cut low, narrow, and winding. An attacker had to crawl through them, one at a time. Bent double in the dark, they could be picked off easily. Every passage was a trap, every level a fortress. This was not a home built for comfort. It was a hiding place built for survival. Every stone door was designed to keep something out, something the people above were desperate to escape. They were willing to vanish underground to avoid it, to seal themselves in darkness behind half-ton stones. The doors make one thing terribly clear. Whatever was coming for them, they were right to be afraid. So who carved this city? And what were they hiding from? The answer stretches back nearly 3,000 years. The first tunnels were likely cut by an ancient people, the Phrygians. They began carving into the soft rock around the 8th century before Christ. But Derinkuyu was not built all at once. Over many centuries, people returned and dug it deeper. They expanded the tunnels and added level after level. By the Byzantine era, it had become a vast underground city. And in those centuries, this land was a place of constant danger. Cappadocia sat on the path of invading armies. Wave after wave of raiders swept across the region. Foreign armies came to conquer, to plunder, and to enslave. For the people of the towns above, an approaching army meant death. They could not fight such forces in open battle. So they did something extraordinary instead. When the watchman saw an army on the horizon, the alarm was raised. and the entire population would disappear. Whole families fled down into the earth with their animals and food. They pulled the great stone doors shut behind them, and they waited, in silence and darkness, far below. Above them, the soldiers would find an empty town. No people, no livestock, no plunder, only deserted houses. The raiders could not find the hidden entrances, and those who did were trapped in the deadly tunnels. So the armies would move on, defeated by an empty village. And only then would the people climb back into the light. Derinkuyu was a city built to make a town vanish, a place where thousands could simply cease to exist for weeks. It was a masterpiece of survival, born of pure fear. And remarkably, for centuries, it worked. In time, the age of invasions faded into history. The people no longer needed to hide beneath the ground. Slowly, the underground city was used less and less. Its tunnels were sealed, and its entrances were forgotten. New houses were built above it, with no memory of what lay below. For centuries, an entire city slept in the darkness. 20,000 people had once sheltered there. And then, it was as if it had never existed at all. Until 1963 and a single swing of a sledgehammer, one broken wall brought the lost city back into the light, and the discovery raised as many questions as it answered. Derinkuyu was not alone beneath Cappadocia. It was connected by long tunnels to other underground cities. One passage is said to run for miles to the city of Cappadocia. Together they form a vast, hidden network under the region. And Derinkuyu may not yet have given up all its secrets. Only part of the city has ever been open to visitors. Below the explored levels, more may still lie buried. Some believe its true depth has never been reached, and it is only one of hundreds of underground sites in the area. Many more may still wait, undiscovered, beneath the towns of Turkey, sealed in the dark, holding the secrets of the people who dug them. Derinkuyu stands today as a monument to human ingenuity and to the fear that can drive people to extraordinary lengths. An entire civilization learned to vanish into the earth, to carve a refuge from solid rock and survive. Beneath the quiet towns, the deep wells are still there, still waiting in the silence for the next wall to fall.